And we're back. Welcome back to No Sympathy for Kings, a rich man's podcast. As always, I'm your host, Ian, and I have a very special guest with me here today. She is the CEO and co founder of the Progressive Love Academy. Well, without further ado, Kenya K. Stevens, how are you today?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. All right. So, what is it that you do, first of all? Like, explain your business to us.
Absolutely. I divorce proof marriages and relationships. So I support humans who want to be together forever and having the tools to do that. So that includes a whole suite of tools that we present over here at the Progressive Love Academy. So we have online courses and we also have one on one coaching.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, for the uninitiated, you're polyamorous, correct?
Yes. Polyamory is literally a word that means many loves. So we just believe that we can love more than one person, as many people as we want, and have individual relationships with them all.
Gotcha. And how does that differ from I guess more common terms like polygamy?
Polygyny is when one man can have several women, but those women are monogamous to him. Polyandry is when a woman can have several men, but those men are monogamous to her. I don't do either of those. I am free and my husbands are free. So we practice polyamory.
Okay. Okay. It's like just for the layman's, that means that you and your partner can have other partners, and their partners have their own network of partners.
Yes, I call
Is
that
that
a
right?
network of love.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Explain the mindset behind that. I think that's critical to putting everybody put it in perspective.
Sure, the mindset is simple. Humans are not a monogamous species. We enjoy variety and we also enjoy stability. So I have a stable home with my husband. I also have other husbands and other stable homes. And I have the freedom to go out and always explore new partnerships. Humans like
Gotcha.
this type of arrangement because we're a communal species.
Are you familiar with like the history of poly and like the origins of it? And if you are, can you explain to us, I guess, where it all began? Does it like predate, more modern monogamous relationships?
Absolutely. So if people are really interested in that, they should really read an anthropologist like Chris Ryan, Sex at Dawn. But what that book and other anthropologists tell us is that the modern marriage system began just 10,000 years ago. So humans are 300,000 years old as a species. So modern marriage has only been 4% of human history. Prior to modern marriage, which favors the male in terms of freedom and the female in terms of being owned, which is not a problem if that's how you roll. But again, the stats aren't working for males or females. Males are more upset about modern marriage than women because alimony and child support and they get gouged through the divorces. I'm like, but y'all set up the system. So yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, that being neither here nor there,
yeah,
ancient systems of non-ownership love is more about communal love, where it's not marriage is not about who I have sex with. Marriage is about how we count up the people in the village. It's easier to count by twos than by ones. So if we put people in couples, we can account for a whole community of 200 people rapidly. And we can remember who goes with who. That was what marriage was about in most of indigenous America, most of indigenous pre-recorded Africa. It wasn't about who you can and can't have sex with. That's not. The sex was with. It was more organic in these indigenous cultures, meaning I have sex with whom I want to have sex with. That's nobody's. It's neither here nor there. And so, but yes, I count my family by having this two or five groups of five. It sometimes was groups, and that's how we count the people in the village.
Do you mind me asking how many other husbands you have?
Oh, I have one other husband. His name is Tiger Moonstone, and we have other partners. He has other partners. My first husband, Carl, has other partners. So I have two husbands, and all of us have other partners.
When did you start like the poly journey? What year?
I've been poly for 20 years. So we started in 2005. So we're almost at 20 years now.
Okay. And what led up to that? Is it just
Well, I had
curiosity, or you at a particular
monogamous.
juncture? Oh, go ahead.
Sure, absolutely. I had a monogamous marriage for many, many years, 12 years to be exact. And my husband and I just loved each other so much that we decided we're going to add some freedom to our relationship. After being with one partner for many years, you can notice the romance fading, and you can notice um, the intensity of the passion fading. And so we loved the fact that we were going to go get more passion, more love, more intensity, and we didn't have to lose each other.
Right. What's the process for that for a couple that's like maybe not necessarily initiated? Like, did you have to find your own way through that, or did you have assistance like what you provide for people? How did that work?
My husband and I found our own way, and we developed systems along the way to make the path easier. For dealing with things like jealousy, insecurity, communication issues, we have developed tools and systems and written books about those. So, that's how we support our couples who want to be divorce proof like we are.
So I think it's safe to say it like it wasn't necessarily like a straight frictionless road. Like there was definitely like a learning curve and maybe even a few bumps. I imagine that like with any relationship, when you're exploring something new like that, and what's I guess considered non-traditional, at least in this part of the world, did you deal together like with those negative, I guess, or connotations or emotions like the jealousy and I remember a live stream you did recently where you talked about early on with your husband Carl. You set up like a bunch of rules at first that you had to adhere to. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, it was a very challenging transition because our culture is set up with ownership love. So that means if I love you, I own your penis, you own my vagina, we own each other's sexuality. I own, you. You can't do anything I don't want you to do. I can't do anything you don't want me to do. And that's called love. Well, we just didn't believe that anymore. And we started to create our own formats. And through creating our own format, yes, we dealt face to face with jealousy, with insecurity. I'm the type of woman who I didn't want my husband to open the car door for another woman. Don't open the door. Don't help her with her groceries. Don't look at another one. That's how I was. And so we had to really move through all of those emotions, and we developed tools to help us move through them so that we could get to the other side and really remove the trigger.
Yeah, that was part of getting to that space, like personal resonance. Like, did you find that the rules that you were, lack of a better term, imposing, on your husband at the time, and for each of you, did you find at some point you wanted to kind of like, you know what, I'm not sure I want to follow these same rules, so why would I impose this onto him? Why would I, it's clearly something I don't like, so
Right.
why should it be like this? Yeah.
Well, we just realized that all rules are fear based. And so we created principles called the progressive love principles that we now follow. And that we support our clients with learning, because rules is one way of dealing with your fear, but principles and tools is another. So we started to build principles that we followed instead of rules. A rule tells you specifically you may not text another woman. That's a rule.
Right.
A principle is different from that. It doesn't tell you anything specific. It talks about how you should think about your partner, why you should trust your partner. So we have a complete suite of those, and they're called the progressive love tenets.
Okay. And are you at liberty to disclose like what like the pillars of those tenets are, or is that something that's like reserved for your course?
Oh, those are all available in my course. And we really love to share those with clients who are ready to take that journey. In terms of others, they got to stick to rules because, we say rules are for fools, but we give and offer the other way of doing things through our Progressive Love Academy online courses.
All right. So this journey started in 2005. You did it together, and eventually the process and the lifestyle evolved in a way that was comfortable for both of you, and then by extension your partners.
Yes.
Okay, great. So at what point did you decide you wanted to make this into a business? What led
Well,
to that?
it's
From the
so
five.
funny because I decided right from the start, as soon as my husband came home from work one day and told me that he was having feelings for another woman, I had already told my husband that I've had feelings for other men. We never cheated on each other. But the day that I decided that I was going to really face into this and try to embrace this, and, like, for instance, go to dinner with this woman and my husband, meet this woman, I started to blog about it. And that's the day we went into business, because the blog became the classes, and the classes became the personal coaching, and the personal coaching became our books. And since then, we've written 12 books.
I've followed your husband too. He's very deep, brother. Very knowledgeable, and he's a cigar guy like myself too. So I
Yes, he
appreciate
is.
that.
Yes, I
All
love
right,
cigars myself.
cool, excellent. So let's talk about, I guess, the idea of divorce proofing your marriage. What does that mean as far as you're concerned?
Divorce proof A divorce proof marriage means that you are in a marriage or a relationship that has no deal breakers. If you are a power couple, if you are divorce proof, you have no deal breakers. There's nothing that you or your partner can do that will cause a relationship to end. Relationships, in my view, do not end. They transition many times. Like, my husband and I used to be really romantic. Our relationship has transitioned to business partners, then it transitioned to friend, it transitions into parenting. So your relationship transitions, but it never ends. That is a divorce proof marriage, a marriage with no deal breakers.
Right,
Unconditional love is what some people like to call it.
right. But even though you've transitioned into, a more evolved version of your relationship, there's still a foundation of love and respect and trust.
Always.
Yeah, I think that's important to like point out, and that's for any kind of relationship. If you ask me, whether you're monogamous or poly or whatever, like you got to have a foundation. If you got a foundation, you can work through almost anything. Like there's few things that would break that camel's back. All right, so talk to me about upper level communication. It's a very exciting and intriguing, I think, mindset, and I'd love to hear you describe it. So, can you tell me what that is and what it entails?
Absolutely. So, Uplevel Communication is actually a book that my husband and I wrote together, and it describes a communication framework that allows partners to literally express any emotion to each other without an argument, without a debate, without defensiveness, and without taking it personal. So, because it's a scripted framework and it requires steps, it takes you out of the back and forth of arguing and the war of communication currently in our society into a new way to language so that you can feel heard, seen, and met.
Gotcha. Okay, that's very interesting. And when did you release that book?
We released that book in 2019, but we started writing it in 2015 when my husband's partner, a female partner of his, moved into the house, and she and I could never get along. And, so she lived at my house for 2 years with our children, myself, my husband. And I realized it's not that she and I don't get along. It's that we don't have any way to communicate with each other without arguing, without it turning into an argument. If I
Mm-hmm.
say, well, you didn't do the dishes, she'd say, well, yes, I did. If I say, well, it's my night to be with my husband, she would say, well, no, it's not. And so that would always cause arguments. So this system, I wrote it in order to be able to get along with one of my husband's partners. And it works for us. And so I knew it would work for others.
Okay. Okay. Cool. How many partners do you are engaged with currently?
Oh my gosh, it's uncountable. I have
Okay.
partners all around the world. I have a serious partner in New York, a serious partner in Atlanta. I have many serious partners here in Houston. I have two husbands, and I just always love to add more. I am a communal person. I do not apologize for my desires, for my wishes, for my dreams. I want every one of my dreams to come true, and I just love having multiple love partners. It has
Okay.
saved my life. So
Yeah.
that's a
All
great
the,
question. You can ask me any question about my poly, honey. I am
okay.
bragging.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Are all your partners men?
Currently, all my partners are men. Yes.
Okay. But you're open to women?
I think I am, but I don't know to what capacity. I consider myself to be omnisexual. Like, I am aroused by whatever's in my environment. You understand? It's not based on whether that person has a penis or a vagina or whether they have stems or leaves. I just,
It's who they are,
it's who
and
they are.
yeah,
Yeah, to me, yes.
yeah, and what benefits you feel you pull from like that interaction.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. What do you like about having multiple partners? Like, do you get one thing from one partner that maybe you don't get from the other, and it kind of like sort of gives you that bit of balance you need for yourself in terms of like energy and how you interact with people?
Absolutely. So my husband and I also wrote a book called The Nine Expressions of Love. And we did that after we realized that there are these basic nine types of relationships that every human is looking for. And typically we try to squeeze all those things into one relationship and make that person do all nine of the things. So one of the things, for instance, is women have a desire for a womb choice. That means she's just very sexually passionate, attracted to someone, and she is constantly wanting them. She wants to jump their bones at all times. That's like a highly sexual primal relationship. Everybody loves that, right? But that's only one type of relationship. Another type is the sapiosexual or crown choice, where I'm super attracted to the way we talk, the way you tell me about what you read, the way you teach me about things. That is a type of relationship. Then there is the support choice, which is more, oh, you're so emotionally tuned into me. I can cry on your shoulder. These guys usually get friend zoned because, it's not highly sexual. It's really about the emotional support that we're providing each other. So there are nine of these. And so I have somebody in all nine of those slots. I'm sure I have at least two in all nine of those slots. Because
Gotcha.
I have a whole community of love around me such that I get more of my needs met. I used to
Mhm.
try to make my husband be all nine of those. And it's never natural, it never works, and it causes disintegration of a relationship.
Mhm. All right. How much time? Like, how do you divvy up the time management piece between your extended relationships and like your what we'll call your prime relationship with your first husband? Like, how does that work?
Yes, obviously the priority is me. So it depends on what I desire and what I want to do as to how I divvy up my time. If I have really been starving for the attention or sexual primal passion, I'm going to go spend time with my womb choice. If I've been
Mhm.
desiring to have the intellectual conversations and the spiritual depth, I'm going to go spend time with my crown choice. I'm
Mhm.
not going to let it be like, oh, we're on a schedule or I can just see you. Even if you're my husband, you know that I have to take care of myself first in order to take care of you. So it's not as though I'm on your time clock. I'm on
Mhm.
my time clock and I fit my guys in based on what I desire at that moment.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned the family dynamic. Early in earlier in your relationships and like your poly journey, if you will. So, how did that dynamic kind of work? As you were raising children and everything, and like how does that communication go when you're like expressing to your children like we're making this change, and how does it I guess become lack of a better term, like more natural over time, since obviously this is a change in what behaviors they've observed in their lives up until this point.
Sure. Well, it was really easy for me and my husband to talk to our children about this. We just sat them down and we told them that, look, there is a 70% divorce rate in the Black community. Marriage is not working out for our community. So we are revolutionaries and we're going to pioneer a new way to relate that's going to be happier. Me and your daddy are going to stay together forever. And we're also going to have many loving partners. Those partners will also be resources for you. If me and your dad aren't there to give you money, you can ask this person for help with your homework, for money, for help with college, for the, you're going to have a larger support system. And our kids got it right away because they didn't want us to divorce, and they know all their friends' parents are divorced. So their friends started coming to our house to learn about relationships.
Hmm. And how old were your children when you two like made that change? If you don't
I
mind me
think the
asking.
youngest was 12 and they were
Okay.
12, 14. No, they were 9, 12, and 13.
Okay. I remember you mentioned in the past that you and your husband recommend that your children be a certain age before you decide to make that transition. Is that right?
Well, no, we've always told our kids the truth from the start. I think that parents telling the truth to kids is the best that you can give them. You can let them know, hey, this is not how we like to do marriage. This is the way that most of the world does it. And look at the divorce stats. We're going to do it different. And we want you guys to be with us at every step of the way and understand what mommy and daddy are doing.
Okay, so they could be 12 or they could be 6. It's just as long as you're communicating effectively.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, so tell me a little bit about like the customer experience and like the clients that you deal with, or assist, I should say. So what can somebody or somebodies expect when they schedule a meeting with you and want to explore maybe the possibility of making that transition? What does that look like for them from the time they click on, from the time they visit your website to the time they meet you to the time they're ready to kind of stand it up and make it a real boy, if you will, and go on into that life, the poly life?
Absolutely. So when a client wants to become divorce proof and they're ready to shore up their marriage, provide that floor of trust, and maybe even venture to polyamory, although most of my clients don't get to polyamory right away. It took me and my husband 2 years to talk about polyamory before we became polyamorous. So my clients come to me, they click the button, they can see the testimonials on my website of all the couples that I have made divorce proof. Then they may want to book a free discovery call with me and we talk about their relationship and see if they're a good fit for this program. This program requires a 3-month commitment. Some clients go longer into 6 months or 12 months. And so, what we do during that time is take them step by step into a new communication system. We get rid of their jealousy, insecurity, possessiveness. We move them into the concept of unconditional love. We make them feel safe in their relationship. And by the time they're done, they no longer argue, they no longer have trust issues, and they're ready to have a beautiful lifelong relationship.
Gotcha. Okay, let's switch tracks a little bit, more personal opinion. I've seen this out kind of in not only the internet and the YouTube streets, but also like I've seen like elements of it in just life in general based on my observations. But I'll ask you for your opinion. Do you believe there is a quote unquote gender war going on, or kind of like an alienation between men and women? And if you do, what do you think is like the genesis of it? What do you think is like the root cause?
Right. Now, I don't think there's a gender war going on. I think that we are just shadow boxing. We're fighting ourselves. So, the root of what we think of as the gender war is the fact that our relationships are not freedom based, they're ownership based. So, men are saying, well, women aren't delivering what we want. And women are saying, well, men are not delivering what we want. The real root to that is that we're not educated on what is a relationship. What's the purpose of it? What is masculinity, femininity, androgyny? What is dominance, submission, and neutrality? What are these things? What is sex? What is the purpose of sex? We are not educated in this culture as to any part of what a relationship is. Now, in order to drive a car, I have to go and get a license. I have to understand how a car works. What's the street signs? How do I go? How do I use these lines on the street? I have to have some training. For relationships, no training whatsoever. Not
Yeah,
from middle school, elementary school, high school, not even college are you trained on relationships. So that's the basis of the quote unquote war. There's no training and there's no definitions of what is supposed to a relationship is supposed to be. All we
yeah,
know is that I own your sexuality and you own mine. And if you cheat, I'm out. And you lying, you cheating. That's all we
yeah.
know.
Very conditional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
knowledge.
I say this to my wife all the time. Like, you know what? You're not the problem. I'm not the problem. The problem is the problem.
Yes.
And like, and once we were able to get that out, like we, it usually the conversation is very constructive after that when we approach it, not only with like that mindset, but also just making it very clear that she and we're not enemies.
No.
You know, we're partners, we're friends. So we
Yes.
should be able to work through this, whatever it is, amicably and find ourselves on like even ground once it's settled. And I think that's like a testament to the up level communication that you were, testifying to moments ago. Well, excellent. That's very, very, very informative. Um, there's another video I saw of you where you mentioned some data points on the Ashley Madison app. Now, for those of us who don't know what the Ashley Madison app is, it's basically a cheating app, right? For people who are in committed relationships that want to, I guess, explore other interactions with other people without their partners knowing, I guess. But it sounds like really deceptive and devious, like when you explain it for what it is. So it's like, I want you to know something about me and vice versa that our partners don't know about us.
Yes.
And the users, I believe you mentioned there were like 30 million users.
Mhm.
And what's the ratio up against like the average, I guess, married percentile?
Well,
Do
in
you
the
know?
United States, we can call it what it is. More than 65% of couples are experiencing affairs. 40% of American couples are completely sexless. That means sex less than 4 times a year. And then, you have these cheating sites like Ashley Madison, and there are others. Ashley Madison is just the largest one, wherein those couples, 33 million people, that's 1/5 of America. So 1 in 5 people is on a cheating site. So, we're saying that what these stats prove is that the modern marriage demi complex institution is not effective. It does not work. The system is antiquated. No one follows it anymore. Less than 45% of eligible adults are getting married today. So that means the system is dying. And so if we don't construct a new system, which we have for the past 20 years, then we're going to die with that system. We're
Yeah,
passing a new system on to our children that is more communal, that is more humane, that is more sane, that is more logical, that is more, it fits who we are as a species.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
What I would love to do next, and what I am doing right now, is filming a reality series where we get to demonstrate to the world what is this life all about. So this will be out on, I can't say the network, but very soon. We've already filmed season 1.
Okay, so this is real. This is happening.
It's in the can.
Okay, that's exciting. Well, whenever it hits, I'd love to have you back and talk about it.
Absolutely.
If
You'll
you're
see
open
it.
to it.
You'll see it very soon.
Absolutely. Well, you've been a delight. This is really wonderful, informative, uplifting, up level conversation, and I appreciate you for doing this. Tell the people where they can find you.
Sure. ProgressiveLoveAcademy.com or Progressive Love Academy on Instagram.
Absolutely. Okay. And as always, you guys, you can find me everywhere. I'm on Instagram at NS4K Podcast. Anywhere else on social media, No Sympathy for Kings or at No Sympathy for Kings. If you've made it this far in the video, please by all means, put a like, click that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, by all means, subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested in learning more about what Kenya does or her services, her information will be in the description as well. And as always, my good people, a lack of discipline may cost you your kingdom. No sympathy for kings. Take care.